Hi, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why some artists can't enjoy what they do anymore. So before I get into the topic of this video, I would just like to talk about what I'm doing right now. This is a fan art that I'm doing for Billie Eilish, and I know that her green hairstyle was a very long time ago, but it's still one of my favorites. And I just thought I want to do a speed paint and chill video and discuss about this topic. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've been feeling some sort of burnout for many months, and I was googling how I can get out of this burnout, and this subreddit called r/artist lounge popped up. The first post I want to talk about is "I don't enjoy art anymore, please help." So basically, this person has been drawing their whole life, but it's mostly just practices like anatomies and doodles and whatnot. They don't really know what they want out of art yet, thus they're feeling lost, and also they get jealous and end up hating their own art when they see other people's really good art, and they tend to get embarrassed about showing their own art. So although my situation isn't as bad as his, the comments I read on people giving him advice were really helpful, and hopefully it will help you as well if you're going through something right now, if you're going through a burnout and you're trying to look for ways to get out of it. Here's a comment from Relevant Lake, which was really good, and I stand by this comment 100%. Basically, they say, try to draw with no purpose, or try to draw something that is for someone else. For instance, a fan art or a gift to a birthday gift, or just a regular old gift for someone that you care about who is special to you. Now, I used to do birthday gifts, drawings for my friends, and it feels really good when they see it and they talk about how much they like it, and you will also feel really good about it. As for fan art, it's always cool to draw something that already exists. You want to dedicate a whole art to a character, a person. For instance, me drawing Billie Eilish right now. I think drawing things for other people will always make you feel more motivated, even though there is no money involved or any real benefits. In the end, the act of just drawing something for someone, it's a good feeling to get out of burnout. So there's also this comment that said, know your priorities and why you are doing art. This is a really good question to ask yourself, like what you want to get out of art. Is it to make it a career for yourself? Is it to be a hobby? Or is it something you just want to do on your day offs and whatnot? Sometimes we just need short-term goals or long-term goals in our life to figure out what we are doing and if what we are doing is worth it. For example, my short-term goals are to hopefully make a career out of art, and my long-term goals is to hopefully retire with a career in art. So yeah, in the end, it really comes down to what you're looking to do in art. And this comment also asked the OP if they were pigeonholed into their position as an artist, and OP mentioned that they weren't forced into it. Sometimes circumstances like this happen where you were always the kid who was really good at art, but to only graduate, go to art school, and find out it's just not what you want. And yeah, sometimes it's really important to ask yourself if you are still the person you are, and who are you right now in the present. Is art still everything that you always wanted? And the rest of the comments in this post are basically just talking about experimenting in other fields of art. For instance, if you're doing digital art, you can try to do some traditional art, or just trying to do like other things that is not as related to art but still consider art. For instance, maybe theater, music, and all that, or even architect. I guess. Next post is titled, "I don't enjoy making art anymore and I need advice." So this person basically never really faced burnout in their life, but one day they just couldn't get into the zone and they just couldn't draw anymore, and it causes them like anxiety. And basically they ask, will this feeling ever go away? And there's this comment from Sensible Sounds, which is really helpful. And basically they say, just show up to the art. Showing up meaning you just sit down, open your computer, laptop, or whatever, open whatever art software you're using, and just start drawing. So this is my go-to way of getting through an art block. It's not much of forcing yourself. It's just you showing up, sitting down, and start doing whatever you see on the screen. If it's blank, then start drawing something. If it's halfway there, then just start by adding little details. You know, you don't even need to sit there for an hour, 5 minutes tops, and then you can get the fuck out if you must. But yeah, I always end up sitting there drawing and I end up doing way more than I was supposed to. There was even once where I just sat and just drew the whole day after coming out of a 2-week burnout, you know. So this is really helpful. Just show up, just sit down, just start doing it. This is really important, and I think this is how many artists go through their burnouts and whatnot. It's like going to class, you know. You don't even need to go to class and pay attention to the lecturers and whatnot, but you do need to show up for that attendance score. And yeah, I think it's the same theory here. They also suggest taking a class. This is somewhat okay of an advice, but I feel like if you're in a state of burnout, you just don't want to look at anything art related. You know, you would go out of your way to avoid looking at art. But yeah, if you ever do like come across like YouTube videos with art, they are really interesting, you know, go watch it. And if you come across like Facebook posts, Instagram posts of how someone does their art, you know, go look into it. It might give you inspiration and help you get through whatever, and help you get through a creative block as well. Also, organizing your space, they mentioned, is really helpful, and I stand by that as well. Every night before I go to sleep, I will always clear out my desk, make sure there's nothing that's gonna stop me from wanting to open my laptop to start drawing. Make sure that make sure your space is not cluttered, because if your space is cluttered, your mind gets cluttered. And when your mind is cluttered, you just don't want to fucking draw anymore. And this also applies to digital clutter, which is basically your desktop or your file management. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. They also mention creating a vision board for your art space. Now this is also very helpful. You know, I have art taped to my wall that sometimes helps me get into the mood. I would even call it like my creative corner, with my creative wall and whatnot. And it really helps you to just feel inspired by other people's work. If you don't have a wall of art, go to Pinterest. Make as many boards of art as you can. Any aesthetic, you know, anything that will get you inspired to start drawing. Yeah, basically inspiring yourself will hopefully help you get out of burnout as well. And lastly, they say try a completely different form of art. This was also mentioned in the last post. Basically, you know, art doesn't always have to just be digital art or whatever. You can always try to go for traditional art, which is like acrylics, watercolor and whatnot, or even, as they say, you could take photos, write a poem, learn an instrument. I say a guitar is pretty good. Sometimes I play the guitar, even though I'm not good at it. But yeah, it does help you feel inspired. So this next post is just titled "I hate making art," and basically they talk about not being able to finish any art piece, and that anatomy is really hard, and they can't draw what they want because they don't have the knowledge to draw it, and they end up feeling more pain than fun than they should. The most upvoted comment is from this person called Rezaline, and they mention, "I don't enjoy sports. Never been good at it, can't do it, so I don't. Find what you enjoy and do that." Honestly, this comment should be a meme. There's not much I can say about it. It is what it is. Sometimes if you can't enjoy what you're doing right now, just stop and take a break. If it's like your job, then take a short walk, take a short break, and don't try to force anything out of it. I just think trying to force like yourself to draw is the most painful experience ever. And I understand not many people can just stop what they're doing and take a break, but also sometimes it is that case where you just need to take a break. And I don't know if Rezaline feels like this OP doesn't really like art in the first place. I'm sure it's not the case, but yeah, it's just funny. There's another really good comment that mentions art is never easy, and people tend to vision the end goal of an artwork rather than the journey getting there. The art process is always gonna be full of struggles. You cannot avoid this. There's always gonna be you looking at your art and thinking it's fucking ugly. And I just think if you're feeling like you're dying from this process, then maybe art is just not for you. You can do art on your own pace as a hobby, but in the end, if you're trying to go pro and make art your career, just know that there's a lot of struggles. There's a lot of time you have to put into it. There's a lot of work you need to put into it, a lot of creativity you need to put into it, and yeah, it's never gonna go away. It's always gonna be there, and you're going to have to be ready to face them every time you start a new art. So here's another Reddit post titled "Got a job doing art and it totally killed any desire to do art after work." I have a lot of friends and myself who has gone through this process repeatedly. When we try to balance work, art, and life, it's just not easy. I'm lucky enough where I can make art right now my full-time career and my freelance job, but I know that many people who are in the art industry don't have the luxury of just drawing whatever they want anymore, because in the art industry you have to draw what the client wants. You don't actually get to draw anything that you want. But this is just cases, but these are just examples that I heard from my friends when they are concept artists in the industry. And the comments basically mention that making your hobby your job has to suck. Imagine losing the one thing that you were good at, but also the one thing that de-stresses you, and making it something that stresses you even more, and just constantly pulling yourself down because of it. And I think this is just applies to all artists. When you try to make money, profit out of your art, you sort of lose the magic in art. But in the end, it's also really important to draw for yourself, even if it's just like a sketch. It doesn't even need to be a full art piece, as long as you can draw something that is meant for you and not for anyone else. And try not to think, and they also mention try not to think about the stress of having to post a completed artwork. I see many artists on social media posting work in progresses, and they've gotten just as much likes as they finish the art piece. Because sometimes drawing for yourself and just art in general, they take a lot more time than we think, and especially if you're trying to juggle between your work and drawing for yourself. For me, for my example, is that I recently went freelance, and comics is what I consider the career and business aspect of my art. But so sometimes I get burned out from drawing my comics because it's basically me having to be consistent in it. But yeah, I would also create another art dump account for my personal art where I just draw whatever I want for days when I just feel like drawing anything but my comics, basically. And they're not like cool art or whatnot, they're just art that I wanted to draw for myself. And it really helps to separate your personal art account from your business art account, because you don't just want to post anything that doesn't match your feed in your business art account, because it would throw other people off. So I would suggest to make a personal art account for yourself and just draw whatever you want, and have no fear of people not enjoying it or liking it. So this next post is not much of a complaint post, but more of a discussion post, and it's titled, "Many new artists don't seem to enjoy the process of creating art anymore." And I fully agree with this title, by the way. Basically, they mention artists today are growing up through social media, and social media makes the art market so saturated. When I was a kid, I grew up, just watching anime and manga, and I wanted to create my own comics. But social media today is just like, you got many people doing the kind of art that you want, and it's just not special anymore when you see other people's art and they're doing way better than you are. Social media is good for promoting art, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it can just kind of make your self-esteem feel a little bad. And the comments are basically saying the biggest enemy is comparison in social media, which makes them not being able to enjoy their art anymore, because they're always trying to also fulfill the algorithm. And if you use Instagram or Facebook, the algorithm is fucked up. The algorithm would favor you if you post more often, but you just don't have the time for that. And yeah, you're going to end up not wanting to draw as much because you feel like no one's gonna see your art anyway. And also, there's this particular post where someone said their lecturer mentioned that in the first day of class that most likely 50% of the students are not going to make it as in maybe graduate from art and whatnot. Because many people come to art school with big aspirations, but to only realize the struggle is real. And there are also people who mention that they're quitting art because discouragement from families and relatives. I've had my fair share of discouragements from people around me, but in the end, I always want to prove to them that I am more than what they say. And it feels good to be able to make it in art and not having people trying to pull me down, because I know my worth, I know my self-worth in art. And no matter discouragements, I just think first you need to put in the hard work, and then you need to show it off if you can. So yeah, hopefully you were able to learn something from this video and get inspired. If you have any questions or you want to talk about what you're going through right now and you want to get advice from people, feel free to comment down below, because this is a safe space. You get to complain whatever you want about here and talk about your struggle, and hopefully other people in the comments can help you as well if whatever you're going through cannot be helped from this video. So yeah, this month I just wanted to do something chill because I haven't been really productive, and I just wanted to do a chill video about it. I've talked about burned out before in a previous video on how to motivate yourself to make comics, but that video was very lightly touching the subject, and the advice I gave were also very light, I would say. Definitely these Reddit posts gave me a new insight on how we can get through burnouts and whatnot, and yeah, hopefully it was able to help you as well. I'm just going to leave you guys to me just trying to finish Billie Eilish, and till then I shall see you in the next video.